Hi there, this is Marie Miller with House of Kellen. I'm coming to you on day 4 of our February Happiness and Love Challenge. And we are going to talk about one of the vices that will bring our energy down, will bring us, will lower our vibration and definitely keep us from being happy. And those are the 3 R's. These are super important for you to learn how to work on, learn how to release. We introduce these to all of our students in ThetaHealing in the basic DNA class, and they keep coming up in different classes in different ways because these are really important for you to understand, and more importantly, for you to release from your body. And they can be really, really, really sneaky. So one thing I like to do is to help define what it means to actually have these feelings. Because a lot of people think that they don't have a lot of regrets. Right. And part of that is because sometimes we don't start having regrets till in our 30s, because when we're younger, we aren't always aware of the results that our actions have on others. So, with regret, those are things like, oh man, that's the feeling of I shouldn't have done that, or maybe that wasn't such a great idea. Right. Rejection is not just like holding on to old rejections, but it's also, are you afraid of rejection? Right? Are you just waiting for people to reject you? And resentment, right? Some people, when they hear resentment, say, I don't have any resentments. And it may be because they're thinking about resentment as this big, huge storm cloud of anger over your head, as opposed to the way that I see most resentments playing out. They actually can be really subtle. Sometimes it's just, somebody says something or does something and you go, and you sort of, the shiver runs through you and you're like, and then your energy shifted in this space that you don't want to be. Right? It doesn't have to be a big thing for it to be a resentment. Sometimes resentments also fall under the guise of being a little bit envious or jealous of other people. So resentment is actually a pretty broad one, but the way that we work on all of these, resentment, rejection, regret, this pattern is always the same for all of them. Same with if you go into rage and revenge. Of course, rage is just another form of resentment, as is revenge. Revenge is basically trying to, get back at people because you still resent them. So the first thing you have to understand about all of these is that we each hold on to these because there's a positive lesson we're getting from it. Either we're learning a virtue or we're learning how to protect ourselves. Safety is one of the biggest reasons that we hold on to a lot of our resentments, right? If we know, okay, this person hurt me and he had these behaviors, so I'm going to keep resenting him so I know not to be with anyone who has those similar behaviors, right? We use that to keep ourselves safe from being in that situation ever again. That's one of the ways. The other ways that we use them, which can be kind of interesting, is we will use them to help us remember the virtues, right? I had an older sister. I still have an older sister. We didn't always get along. She was quite physically abusive when we were kids. And of course, I was verbally not very nice back to her in retaliation. We had a whole back and forth going. So all sorts of different lessons that we were learning from each other in that interaction. And I resented her for a very, very long time. And what would happen is, and this goes back into the disappointment that I was talking about on Tuesday, is there was these different virtues that I got, this independence, this strength, right? The only reason I started doing weightlifting and got super physically strong in high school was to protect myself from her, right? So I learned these great things. I got in touch with my strength. I learned who I was, and I became very independent because of how brutal she was. And so when I've been feeling low in my life or things weren't going right, and I wanted more of those virtues that I learned from my interaction, I would call her up and set things up in such a way that I knew she would disappoint me again, so I could be mad at her again, and I could be the victim again, and then I could be strong and independent and be back in the virtues that I learned through that whole cycle. So what we want to do is we want to be able to voice and recognize those lessons and realize and teach ourselves that we can have all those lessons, all those virtues, without having to have that resentment. And then you can let the resentment go. It's pretty magical when you finally let go of a resentment you've had for over 30 some years. It can really be a huge weight lifted from your body. So how do we do this? So this is going to be tying into your writing exercise, and I will put these questions in the description of the video and also in the Facebook group. So the first thing you want to do when you're dealing with resentment, rejection, regret is identify who is it that you're mad at? Who are you mad at? Why are you mad at them? And then we also want to acknowledge that maybe the reason you're mad at, maybe you're not mad at this person, maybe they remind you of someone. So what happened with my sister was I moved 2,500 miles away. And so we weren't interacting anymore. So sometimes instead of calling her, because I really needed that energy to work against, I grew up with this certain interplay, like this dynamic. And so in order to fill that need in my life, I would call into my life energetically people who made me feel the same way that she did. So that way I could maintain my status quo. So what you want to do, especially if the person you're resentful towards is a coworker, or if you're cohabitating, things like that, you just want to go up and be like, okay, so how do I feel when this person triggers me? What is it I feel about myself? And look at, was there someone earlier who made me feel this same way? Is this the first time I felt this way inside of a relationship? 90% of the times when you ask yourself that, you're like, oh, no, I felt this way before, it was this person. So what you want to do is to go back to that original wounding, that original resentment. And this is going to be the tough part, to really breathe into your heart and relax, connect to the creator, connect to source, and ask yourself the question, what am I really learning from this? What are my benefits? Right? What do I get out of being angry at this person? Right? And when you can find that and let it go, you're going to be so much happier. It takes some practice, because your subconscious may want to fight you on this because it's been giving you so many great things. So that's going to be your writing practice for tonight, is to write down, who are the people that you're still mad at? Why are you mad at them? Right? And do you really still need to be mad at them, or can you actually let it go and have those virtues without having to have that anger? Right? And a real quick note on revenge and vindication. When I work with people on that, the big question I'll ask them is what is that going to prove when you get vindicated? Or what how are you going to feel differently when you get your revenge? Right? And why wait? Why wait to take it out on them and then feel that way? What if you just skip the whole process and let yourself have that feeling now? Right? So again, today's homework is going to be in your journal to write down some people you're mad at and really explore internally. Is that really the first person that you're mad at? How do you feel, right, when you get triggered by this person? How do you feel about yourself? Not just, oh, I'm angry, right? But use I am statements. When this person triggers me, or when I get triggered by this person's behavior, I feel powerless, I feel sad, right? I feel betrayed. So you're going to use the I am statements for that. Okay. And the next thing you're going to do, again, is go down to the root of it, see how far back it really goes. And you're going to want to acknowledge and say out loud what it is you're getting out of being angry at that person. Because that is what I found is the biggest trick, I guess, to theta healing, or the work that we do, is being able to say the truth out loud. All right, beautiful souls. That is today's exercise. That is today's talk. I hope you have an amazing day, and we'll see you tomorrow for something a bit more lighthearted.